Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking movies, TV, comics, and more. Join in the conversation on our social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome back for another edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. What is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He is the co-host. His name is Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
Folks, we have a lot to talk about in the land of movies, TV, comics, and more, so definitely join in the conversation on social media. You can find all of our links at OchoDuroParlayHour.com. Join in on Facebook, join in on Twitter, join in on Instagram, join in on Podchaser, drop a 5-star review. Same thing with Apple Podcasts, and always remember to use the hashtag ODPH. We have a lot to discuss because this weekend, there is actually a lot going on.
Yeah.
Streaming-wise, video game-wise, but nothing is more bigger than the return of The Boys to Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Pat, you have not seen the show yet.
Nope.
But let me give you a quick rundown and get you maybe a little enticed for it, because the fact that The Boys is coming back and it is going to be one of the big moments of 2020.
Yeah.
It's so wild to think about.
I'm saying before anyone comes jumping down my throat, how come you haven't seen The Boys yet? Slow your roll. Temper your expectations. Stop typing that email you're going to send to the show. Stop typing that tweet. I don't have Amazon Prime. It's that simple.
I'll let you borrow it because it is well worth catching up, because to see where this book came out, because originally it started as a comic book in 2006, rather.
Okay.
Written by the one and only Garth Ennis.
So I've heard that name.
You know his name. You know his work from Preacher and his run on Punisher.
Uh-huh.
He is not exactly what we call a superhero writer.
No.
So the fact that when it was announced that him and Derek Robertson were teaming up to write a story about what would happen if superheroes were running the world and how corrupt they could become,
Or maybe even a more realistic view of a superpowered team.
Yeah.
Because don't get me wrong, I like Justice League and all. You know, it's a great book. You know, and it's Avengers too, I guess you could say. But that's kind of one of the drawbacks of, like, you know, I would say Superman per se, is that, like, as good as he is and as awesome a character as he is, there is no way on God's green earth in real life that anybody would be that good a Boy Scout and that well-mannered, like, every day of the year. Mm-hmm. At some point, somebody like that, if this were a real world, they'd be like, all right, screw this, knock him into next week.
Yeah, so you see where power corrupts, and I've heard people say this is a realistic take if the Justice League was around, because they have basically taken over the world. So what are you going to do to stop them?
Yeah.
And this is where the story of The Boys comes in, because it's a group of people that are trying to stop them by any means necessary, for various different reasons as you go through. So when it debuted on Wildstorm, the side imprint that was under Jim Lee, and then when he came over to DC, obviously DC Comics absorbed the imprint. Wildstorm was publishing the book for 6 issues until DC kind of jumped in, and I don't think they were on the real same page, in my opinion, with Garth Ennis' vision, because when you're pretty much parodying the Justice League and going a lot of not safe for workplaces with your story, I don't think that was going to exactly fly with DC.
Probably not.
So I will say, though, it was very interesting to see that DC allowed Ennis and Robertson to take the property elsewhere, and they wound up going to Dynamite for it. Published from issues 7 to 72. The book ended in 2012. And then, lo and behold, it was picked up by Amazon Prime for a TV show. Connected with it was one Eric Kripke, who you know from Supernatural fame.
Okay.
And one Seth Rogen.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, which he is an executive producer on the show. And to see where this has definitely spawned out to, Carl Urban is the star of the show, Jack Quaid, Anthony Starr, Aaron Moriarty, Laz Alonso, Chase Crawford's in this. They have a star-studded cast.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Going through the stories and trials and tribulations of these everyday humans fighting the godlike superheroes. And how it goes about, it's a wild ride, to say the least. Carl Urban as Billy Butcher is absolutely just mesmerizing on screen.
Okay.
Just how his charisma carries through to the character. Because if you read the comic, like I say, I can't stress enough, the comic is a lot more darker, a lot more, dare I say, sinister to a degree.
Okay.
It's such a very over the top, not safe for work read.
Yeah, and I should mention, saw a thing while we were getting ready for the show. If you are a fan of The Boys and you would like to read the comics, there's a great deal going on Humble Bundle right now. This isn't an ad. This is just something I found, and hey,
Sure,
might be interested. Humble Bundle has a deal going on where if you want, you can get all 72 issues of the comic book series. So that's the full run of The Boys plus Project Superpowers and more, all for $15.
wow, that's a deal.
You want to take a stab at how much that bundle amount would cost you normally?
Couple $100.
Yeah, purchase separately, it'd be about $265.
Wow.
So you can get the whole run plus Project Superpowers for $15 on humblebundle.com.
That's amazing.
Now, if you're not a huge fan, you're not quite sure, you want to dip your toe in a little bit before you go full tilt, they are offering, they do have tiers. So the first tier is just $1. You got to pay $1. You get the first 2 volumes of The Boys, which includes issues 1 through 14. You also get Project Superpowers Volume 1, the Christmas issue, Xmas Carol, as well as the first volume of the Black Terror spin-off series. So you're getting a whole bunch for a single $1.
The fact there's a Christmas episode is just hysterical to me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to hold in my laughter.
So, and we should note the comics are DRM free and come in multiple formats. So whatever comic reading app you use, it should work on there.
Yeah, so it's definitely worth picking up. And
Yeah.
I do recommend the books, but like I will give you the highest warning. It is so not safe for work, and they go a lot more places than the TV show has gone thus far. The TV show, I will say, does follow the story a lot. It does differ in certain aspects, but it definitely captures the tone of the show, the tone of the comic, rather. And like I say, from Billy Butcher's character, the former CIA operative, and how he rounds up his team of the Frenchman, or Frenchie, Tomer Capone plays him, who's a former mercenary. Laz Alonso plays Marvin Milk, or a.k.a. Mother's Milk, as they call him. They're pretty much the heavy military background. They're the ones that definitely are the only ones that can really hold up to the 7.
Okay.
And when they're reluctantly teaming up with one Huey Campbell, who's played by Jack Quaid, because Campbell is on like a little bit of a vengeance.
Okay.
Because it shows in the beginning of the comic and the show too, which they play superbly. He's walking with his girlfriend. It's a nice sunny day. He's holding her hands, like, okay. And then all of a sudden, he's covered in blood. He's holding the 2 hands. And what does he see? He sees one of the 7, A-Train, who is the Flash character of the show.
Okay.
Basically run right through her. And he's like, oh, I didn't see her there. And he's like, and he's freaking out because he's like, oh my God, you just killed my girlfriend. Like, how are you saying you didn't see her? Jesse Usher, who plays A-Train, he plays him phenomenally. And it's just basically how, I would say it's not exactly Barry Allen by any means. It's more like Bart Allen.
Yeah.
That he's just somebody that is relying so much on his superpowers that it just clouds his judgment a lot. And how they cover it up is they're like, the 7 is sponsored by Voight Industries. And they're basically funding him. It's a lot like Youngblood. I would say Youngblood meets the Justice League.
Okay.
And when they kill off Huey's girlfriend, they're trying to pay him off, and he's just not hearing it. And somehow he connects with Butcher, and the story unfolds from there. And basically, it's a completely wild ride, and you find out a little bit more about each character's background. Plus, you also see how a new member is joining the 7, and it's really focused around Aaron Moriarty, who plays Starlight, who comes from the Midwest and is, you want to say, bright-eyed to the big city, very naive, and unfortunately gets a very harsh lesson from the team early on, which is all under the watch of one Homelander, played by Anthony Starr, who is absolutely over the top as the sadistic Superman. That's basically how you could describe him. And as we go through the different characters, I mean, Queen Maeve, who is Dominique McElliott, who is the Wonder Woman type character as well. Chase Crawford, who plays the Deep, who is the Aquaman of the character or the series. But when I say the Aquaman, it's not the Jason Momoa type. It's more the Super Friends, gets completely made fun of on the memes, just completely is not really thought that highly of on the team.
Okay.
It's just kind of the examples. And how they go back and forth with the boys during this entire first series. It's a lot over the top violence. It's a lot of very, very dark humor. It's very interesting to see how the play is with one Madeline Stillwell, who's played by Elizabeth Shue, who was the head of Voight International, who is the one that is behind the Seven, and how she is manipulating the Seven and the public to thinking of how important these heroes are. I mean, I know there is one instance, and I don't want to go into too much spoiler territory, where Homelander fakes an accident.
Okay.
And thus gives this big public plea after the said accident, and thus is winning over the public to say about how the Seven should become the national defense of the world. Like it's so over the top House of Cards ish that it's so well done by Anthony Starr. Like I said, I can't say how much of an amazing job he does as the sadistic Superman of the group. And how it leads off in the first season, it definitely goes into a lot of different directions, because you find out. I'm going to try doing the spoiler free, Pat.
Okay.
They really go to the background of Butcher versus Homelander, because there is a backstory that we find out about. We also see about how the Seven is dealing or gets a lot of their powers from this Compound V, which is almost like in the Flash Velocity 5.
Okay.
To put in the same degree.
Okay.
So A-Train is probably the most addicted to it.
Sure.
And when he starts having, dare I say, side effects from it, it comes up at the worst time, because Starlight is connecting with Huey. In this, I mean, if you see any of the trailers, this isn't really a spoiler, but you might not know the whole backstory. They have like this weird Romeo-Juliet thing going on. And when A-Train catches on with this, because they're looking for the boys, they wind up having a standoff fight, and the lasting shot of the season finale is A-Train is having a heart attack while Starlight is fighting him. So whatever happens from there, we're going to find out. Plus, there's also a big reveal with Butcher and Homelander that I don't think anybody saw coming.
Probably not.
So that being said, we now dive into this coming Friday, September 4th. Amazon Prime has announced that they're going to air the first 3 episodes of Season 2 on Friday, and then they're going weekly a la DC Universe,
Disney
Plus. So they're going to go that instead of just straight Netflix binging.
I think that's better.
I think it's so much better. Like,
yeah, because I used to be able to do the whole binge a whole show in a day, thing, but I just can't do that anymore. Life and just I can't stay awake as long as I used to. But I love, I was kind of skeptical of it when Disney announced they were going to do that for Disney Plus. I was like, I really like watching stuff all at once, but like, it's nice because you have a week to let things breathe and really think about it and rewatch stuff and catch stuff you didn't see the first time, and it's just nice to, because that's the thing with binging. It's fun to do, and if you can do it, great, but like you finish it quickly and then you're like, well, damn, what do I do now?
Yeah, it's one of those kind of catch-22s, because I do like binging some episodes,
sure,
and then some other ones,
sure,
I just wind up not having time for it. And The Boys, I will admit, I binged and I had no problem doing it, but I also watched it after it came out. Like, it wasn't like the first weekend.
Sure.
So now that it's coming out and it's going to be, episodic, if I can say that for the weekly.
It's going to be weekly.
It's going to be weekly. I mean, however you want to define it. I think it works out better, especially right now with, unfortunately, so much being shut down.
Yeah.
That
it gives people something to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it works out in its favor, because the fact that they're going to be able to really go forward and really kind of dominate the fall, I think can only help them as a win-win, especially with how well the series has been done. So far, the reviews have been very well.
That's good.
Coming in for the next season. I'm not going to try going into any spoilers for it, because I have seen the trailer. I know that they really dabble around what's going on with Butcher, and you see how the boys have really taken the task of fighting the Seven. There's a new member on the team, Stormfront. So we'll have to see what her agenda is. They did do a gender flip from the comic.
Okay.
So Aya Cash is going to be playing Stormfront this season, and her powers are up there with Homelander's.
Okay.
So, but a very different motivation. I'm not sure how they're going to be following the comic. If you have read the comic, Stormfront is not exactly a good person by any stretch of the imagination. So to see how this is going to get thrown into the mix, is going to be, I think, the dominating point of this season. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. We do know that there are a couple other people that are joining the boys, one of which is Patton Oswalt.
Ooh.
So we don't know what his role is going to be as of yet.
That'd be great.
But yeah, it's Patton Oswalt. So you where can you go wrong with him? You can't. Plus, there is a actor close to your heart that is joining the show.
Yeah.
Who is that, Pat?
Giancarlo Esposito.
Yes. So he is going to be taking on the role.
It's a busy dude.
He is a busy guy, but I tell you what, he crushes. He's playing the role of Stan Edgar. So what exactly that's going to be implying, I don't know. But they have really star-studded this cast, and I think what's so just dominating about this is considering where this book came, and when you hear about a book that has stopped being published on a major publisher and it goes indie, sometimes fans are not they don't follow as much sometimes just because different reasons. They think, well, something's wrong with the story.
Sure.
But to see Garth Ennis's vision, still the show maintains that vibe. And to see how well it radiates. I mean, what do you think that says for the state of independent comics coming to TV?
I think there's definitely an avenue for it, and I definitely think there's a market for it. Hello, The Boys. Hello, Umbrella Academy. I just think they have to find the right medium for it because, what was it? What were the two that were on Sci-Fi? Was it Deadly Class?
Deadly Class.
And what was and Happy?
Happy.
Which had a fan following. Definitely saw the hashtags the night they were on. But I think the issue with it is they weren't on the right medium per se, and that might not be the right word. But when a bulk of your demographic, the comic fans and what have you, are cutting the cord, not watching TV, putting it on, and I get that the Sci-Fi app is a thing, but not everybody wants to go through that hassle and deal with the ads and deal with everything else, But I think putting it on network television or cable television is it for an indie comic might not be the smartest thing just because a lot of like I said, a lot of that demographic is cutting the cord. So this is why something like The Boys, indie comic, works on Amazon Prime. People have Amazon Prime. People have Hulu. People have Netflix. That's what they're going to these days rather than just buying the cable bundle. Yeah,
no, I have to agree with you. I mean, to see the creative freedom that they're allowing on the streaming service. Not that really hurt Deadly Class, I would say, because Deadly Class was pretty spot on with the comics.
Right, and that's the other benefit when going with streaming as compared to cable television. Cable television, you have to curb it back unless you decide to show it at like 3 a.m, and then nobody's going to watch it.
Yeah.
Streaming, with be it Amazon, Hulu, Netflix, you can just go nuts. Like, as great as The Witcher is, I think it would work well on a network television, but it wouldn't be the same show. No, it would be toned down. It wouldn't be as violent. It wouldn't be as graphic. The monsters might not play as big a role as they do in the first season, which is a detriment to the show. But that's the issue you run into when you run on regular television.
No, absolutely. And I think that to see where Amazon is just taking advantage of the creative freedom and they have not taken anything away from the book.
Sure.
Which I think was the biggest thing going into this is, okay, what's going to happen when a show like this translates onto the small screen? I think in certain cases it's worked out that it hasn't hurt by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
I think for the most part the audience is there, but like you touched upon, with Deadly Class, it was a tough thing because of where it was. And the book, while it is a very good book, and I know that it has that indie buzz to it.
Sure.
It just, for whatever reason, Sci-Fi wanted to go in a different direction with it. I mean, they're entitled to that.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised Happy got a second season.
Right. I remember you saying that.
Yeah, which, I mean, Happy is just Happy would have benefited, I think, more so on Amazon than it would have on Sci-Fi.
Oh, it would have been... I didn't watch it, but I heard stories of it. It would have been weirder than it was.
Yeah, because
Amazon, they wouldn't have to like hold anything back.
No, they would just let them go completely crazy, which I completely understand.
Yeah.
And you need to, if you're going to be trying to tell a visionary like Garth Ennis's ideas on screen, because he goes a lot of wild directions.
Yeah.
Happy is, like, the fact that we had Happy and it was so well done in the first season that we got the second, I was just amazed. But then when both were canceled, it was like, okay, well, where are we going with the future of indie comics on the small screen? We have heard about FX doing Y the Last Man, but that's been in...
Haven't they done that before, though? Not them, but somebody else?
No, it was, well, I think it was talked about on HBO at one point, and it's been rumored to go from different places, but we really haven't seen that book show up yet. I know that there was supposed to be some talk lately, but I haven't heard anything about that. Which, I mean,
I swear they did something like that on television.
They might have. Like, I don't remember seeing if Y came out and we missed it. I don't know how we did that.
Maybe I'm confused. I'm looking at the comic page on Wikipedia. Looks like I might be confused, thinking of something else.
I think, unless you're thinking Legion.
No, I'm you know what? I'm thinking of something else.
Okay, but either way, we haven't really heard too much about the indie comics breaking through to this. I mean, I know that Netflix has ran with the Umbrella Academy.
Oh yeah,
and I know they've had a couple other shows that came out.
They're going very niche, with their shows. It's not like it's all the randomness that was a couple of years ago with House of Cards, and then Orange is the New Black, and Marco Polo, and all this other stuff that were all very good shows in their own way. But they're definitely going very niche. You got Witcher coming out. I know they're working on a Witcher animated movie, something or other. They're working with Warner Brothers and Rooster Teeth with the Transformers stuff. I think they just announced they're doing a Resident Evil animated series or regular series, something series. So Netflix is going very niche, and they're definitely skewing towards the video games, and I absolutely love it.
Well, it's smart to do because I think the public really wants to see something different.
Oh yeah, and it's a safe bet for these services, be it Hulu, Amazon, Netflix, that they're great stories. Hello, they've been going, they've all had runs of long times, and it's got a built-in fan base. So there's no question for you of, okay, is this going to be any good, and are people going to watch it? Something like Resident Evil that's been going for 30 plus years.
Yeah.
Hello, is it going to be good if we get the right people? Are people going to watch it? Yes.
Well, and I think the boys really benefit from that. I think I can't see anybody else playing Butcher other than Carl Urban. And Carl Urban just eats up scenery when he's on there. He's so charismatic. Like, you are just captivated. And like I said, when he bounces off with Anthony Starr as Homelander, it's like a 1-2 punch right there. Like, it has just been so well done. And I mean, everybody from top to bottom on that cast, they have just done it so perfect. And to see where they're going to go this season, and it's really going to be a fun ride. Like, I'm super excited to see it. And the fact that we're going to get 3 episodes this Friday, I know that I think the Wednesday Pull List podcast, shout out to Lex, is doing a watch party for it. I know that East Coast Avengers are going to be watching it. I think there's so many people waiting to see this show return. And to see how it's broken through to the mainstream is just wild to think that this book, when it originally came out, is now part of pop culture. It's just so crazy to see of how well done it is. But it's also another kudo to what Amazon Prime is doing. If you really take a look at their lineup with The Expanse, and we talk about Jack Ryan, and we talk about Hunters, and then we go into what they were releasing at Comic-Con with Truth Seekers and Utopia. And they have so much stuff coming out right now. I mean, you can't help but applaud them at all. Like, they have just been putting in so many good shows lately. It's just absolutely crazy. And The Boys is, I mean, you got to argue, is it the flagship show right now?
For right now, yeah.
I mean, it's in the conversation between that and The Expanse for me. I mean, and Jack Ryan's up there too. Like, they have so much content coming out right now that everybody's going to really start flocking to it. And I'm hoping that this really causes some of the other streaming services to step their game up to take a look at some indie books.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, Netflix does The Umbrella Academy. I do count that as indie, even though it's Dark Horse. But Dark Horse is indie. It's one of the most independent comics companies running.
Absolutely.
Valiant, you're seeing get a little movie time with Bloodshot, obviously, and whatever's going to go on with Harbinger. I haven't heard anything lately with that whole universe. But to see that indie comic is really busting through to the mainstream is always great to see. I'm hoping this opens the door for some more, and I'm really hoping that some other streaming services really take the liberties to run with it. I think network TV is tough to do for it. I just think so. There's just too much standards and practices to really tell that vision completely. It's not to say it's out of the realm of thought, but if you really want to start going on the creative process, to really hamper something like The Boys on network TV, it just wouldn't do it justice, and it would just be a complete failure. But for Amazon Prime to really sink its teeth into it, really go follow the subject matter, and even know how crazy it's going to get, how not safe for work it's going to be, I can't just sit back and just wait to see what we have, because like I said, early reviews I've read spoiler free, and they've just said it's just as good as the first season.
Right.
I'm fully believing it from the sources I trust about it. I'm going in though completely blind to it. I cannot wait to see what we get. And I tell you what, we're going to be probably talking about it next week here on the podcast. But let us know what you think. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPH, this Friday. Amazon Prime Video, The Boys, Season 2, Episodes 1 through 3 come out. Are you excited? Are you not? And let's talk about that when the episodes drop. We definitely need to have that conversation. So hit us up. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of watching the same old awesome movies? Are B-movies more your style? Then the folks over at They Call This a Movie have you covered. Join us every Thursday as we review the worst of the worst in sci-fi, action, comedy, and more. We are available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and Podbean at theycalledthisamovie.podbean.com. They Called This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships, one terrible movie at a time.
Hey, this is Brian Wolf from Fair City Fire. You are listening to ODPH, the greatest podcast in Binghamton.
Woo!
Hot lips touching, cool thighs feeling, shudder running up, her spine spinning, long day to a long night, but I'm not stopping till I get it right.
Coming back for segment number 2 on this edition of the ODPH podcast. And this weekend is not just for streaming.
No.
It is a monster video game weekend.
Oh, yeah, huge.
And I think that it's going to be really tough to decide what you're going to be playing because I know there's one favorite that is dominating Twitch, dominating streaming, dominating YouTube maybe to a certain degree.
Oh, it will be by the end of, well, it's tough because this weekend, oh boy, it's going to be real something, especially when you go to pick up these games at your local game store.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tough call because there's one classic that's returning, and then there is the monster that is debuting. It got dropped a little early, so we are going to break down what you should be picking up this weekend because it's the face-off time.
Yeah.
In one corner,
Yep.
you have Square Enix presents Marvel's Avengers.
Yep.
And the other corner, returning Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
1 and 2.
Break it down, Pad.
Yeah, so both games come out this weekend. Of course, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 is a remaster, plus some new stuff added in, of the two classic games you played back in the day, or if you're younger, you may not have played. Highly recommend you pick it up and play it. It's a great game, great games. But yeah, and then the other big one coming out this weekend is, as Ken mentioned, developed by Crystal Dynamics and published by Square Enix. It is the original story, not tied in with the movies, maybe tied in with the comics. We'll end up seeing, who knows? Avengers game starring the Avengers you know and love from the movies, but with an interesting take on it. You got A-Day going on and the team is forced to disband, if you've seen the trailer, but then they've got to reassemble to save the world. I know from the trailers and the clips I've seen on TV, they got to fight AIM. I know MODOK's going to be a thing. It's going to be real good.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of the streams that we've had from some of our fellow content creators. To shout out to WonderSoul, shout out to East Coast Avengers. The game looks amazing.
Yeah.
And I know there was a lot of, I want to say trepidation a little bit when it first came out because everybody was complaining about the graphics.
And the characters don't look like the movies.
Yeah, which I think you have to realize that not everything is going to look like the MCU.
Also, you got to write special deals and you got to pay the actors to use their likeness, and that gets rather expensive when you're talking Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, just to name a few.
Yeah, so obviously with Square Enix doing what they're doing,
yeah,
I had no issue with what we saw. I just wanted to see how the gameplay was looking, and it looked phenomenal. And the storyline is a very interesting one. That it centers around Miss Marvel Kamala Khan, though, a lot, which I'm very happy to see. Yeah. Because it does set around that her story begins that she is writing some fan fiction stories. So this might be a little bit of spoiler for you.
We know she's a fan just because I know when they've unveiled her being in the game, the trailer they showed, one of the first shots was of her bedroom, and she's got the only thing I can call them is like those party decorations you see at birthday parties.
Yeah.
You string up on the walls, except they're all the Avengers logos.
Yeah.
It's Captain America's logo, it's Thor's logo, it's it's Iron Man's logo and what have you.
Yeah. So where it starts off with her story is that she winds up going to this contest for fan fiction, and she winds up meeting the Avengers. And there's definitely a lot of movie influence, I will say, from this.
Sure.
Without going too super spoilery. But they also wind up having this A-Day, which is supposed to be this big celebration of the Avengers, get ruined by AIM, who shows up. And we do see some various different members of the MCU villainy up here. I know Taskmaster shows up. That video has been circulating around.
Right.
Which, by the way, did you see Taskmaster so far?
No.
The costume looks amazing for the game.
Okay. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, which I know a lot of our fellow content creator friends have said, I wish this was the actual movie version. And I have to agree. I saw the costume because there's a little scenario with Taskmaster in there that you'll definitely be excited about, and then where the storyline goes of why the Avengers have to separate or they disband, and then what brings them back to reassemble. It's very interesting to see how the setup is. The story so far has been incredible.
Yeah, no, from the little gameplay I've seen, it's very good. And I know some people might be excited for Taskmaster. I'm still pissed off at him from the Spider-Man PS4 video game.
Oh.
And anyone who's played that game knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. You've been griping about him forever.
Fuck you, Taskmaster.
Oh, my gosh. You're going to be yelling that out whenever Black Widow debuts at the theater, aren't you?
I'll hold it in just because I might get thrown out.
Well, on the third showing, maybe we'll just yell it out.
Maybe.
But either way, to see how they're kind of deep diving into the MCU and how they're really playing around with a lot of different elements,
Yeah.
I think is very cool. And I think
definitely.
for the Avengers to return to video games, which
They haven't had many.
no, there really hasn't been many. And I mean,
So I looked them up.
oh, break it down, Pat.
Yeah, so I looked them up. There have been obviously a bunch of Marvel games. Some good, some not so good. But specifically the ones that had Wikipedia pages, because there were some that didn't have Wikipedia pages. These are the ones that had pages. The first one you had was Captain America and the Avengers, which released in, 1991, and was for the arcade, Super NES, Mega Drive / Genesis, Sega Game Gear, Game Boy, and the Nintendo Entertainment System. So that was the first one. It was, 4 players simultaneously. It's kind of a beat 'em up platformer action type game. So that was kind of the first one. The next one you had was called Avengers in Galactic Storm, which was again made by Data East and was released in 1995 and was kind of a fighting arcade game. So another one of those, kind of Street Fighter, type of things.
I vaguely remember that because I remember at that time that was supposed to be their big crossover event, and I remember it kind of fell flat a little bit.
Yeah,
like it's noteworthy for the Avengers history, but it wasn't one of those like earth-shattering moments. And I remember when it was getting rolled out of the video game form, I was like, oh, I see it, and I'm kind of wondering why.
Yeah, the next one, again, had a Wikipedia page for it, was a game called Marvel Avengers Alliance, which came out in March 1st of 2012. This was for Facebook, Apple, iOS, Android, Windows, and then Playdom.com. So that was it. And the page describes this as a turn-based social network game that was developed by American studio Offbeat Creations. It says it was based on characters and storyline published by Marvel Comics and written by Alex Irvine. The game was available as an Adobe Flash application via the social networking website Facebook. It officially launched in Facebook on March 1st, 2012, and was initially released as a promotion to the 2012 Marvel Studios crossover film, The Avengers. It did win an award for Best Social Game on the Video Game Awards in 2012. After that, the next one you had was Marvel Avengers Battle for Earth. This one was for the Xbox 360 and Wii U, which released on October 30th, 2012 here in the States, a couple days later overseas. And then another one that I personally love, and to me it's because short list, you had Lego Marvel Avengers.
Yeah, that's solid.
That was a good one. Another one you had was Marvel's, I forget the name of it. It was like Marvel Superheroes or something like that, where it was because Lego Marvel Avengers was based off of the movies.
Yeah.
But the other one, I forget, I'm blanking on the title with it. It was one of the games I got as a bundle deal for my PS4 when I bought it. Was Lego Marvel Superheroes or something like that?
I think it's something like that.
Fantastic game. That one is probably one of the best Avengers games they've done, simply because Lego Marvel Avengers, it's kind of behooving to the movies, and you kind of that one was not. So at one point you're on a submarine facing Doctor Doom with Iron Man, Wolverine, the Human Torch, and what was it, Ant-Man. So that one was really cool. But yeah, no, not many Marvel Avengers games over the years.
No, because they did lump everybody together for the Ultimate Alliance,
right? Yep.
Which, I mean, the first Ultimate Alliance in God, what year was that?
I can look that one up.
I want to say that was 2006,
something like that.
That game set the bar for a lot, because I know they kept the X-Men separate at one time, and then they got everybody together for Ultimate Alliance, because I know it's going to sound weird for a lot of our younger audience, shall we say, but the Avengers were not always the hot franchise.
Ultimate Alliance came out in October of 2006.
Bam! Got that. Yeah, the Avengers line was never super big until after the Iron Man movie.
No.
Like, it died off. Like, just for that time period, the X-Men books were the books. Like, nothing was ever coming near it. So when the X-Men rolled out in their own separate stuff, it made a lot more sense. So then after Iron Man started taking a little more buzz at the movie theaters, Marvel decided to finally get everybody on the same page with Ultimate Alliance, which was a great move.
Well, and even before Iron Man 1 came along, Spider-Man was a big one, because you had the Sam Raimi films coming out. I remember, going to my library and picking up volumes of Ultimate Spider-Man. They always had Ultimate Spider-Man. They never had any, because I know they were doing Ultimate Avengers at the time. My brother had the first volume at home, but the library never added those Ultimate Avengers books.
No, they definitely didn't, which it just goes to show just how the Avengers had fallen by the wayside, which is a shame. But then they did start putting some more creativity behind it. Like, nothing against the people that were writing the books at the time. It just, when you get the big hot creators, and you always know when they get the big it books at the moment, that's where they kind of go to. So for the Avengers, when they finally got the shot in the arm and became the new Avengers, that's when it really started taking off. But as far as video games go, I mean, it was always kind of interesting to see how it was going to play out. And then obviously when they wanted to do Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, and they were borrowing so much from Civil War, like, that's, I think, where the game fell flat.
Well, and I mean, the thing with Ultimate Alliance was a good game, but just kind of looking through, after that game came out, there was a lot of crap.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 3 came out after that. You had Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, obviously those two tying into movies. You had the Ghost Rider game, which again tied into a movie. You had Iron Man, which that game was okay. Spider-Man Web of Shadows, which is okay. Not great. I enjoyed it at the time, and it's okay. X-Men Origins Wolverine, you had Ultimate Alliance 2, which people love. But, after that, it's kind of like a lot of crappy Spider-Man games, with the exception being Ultimate Spider-Man. The Ultimate Spider-Man video game is amazing. But there's just like a ton of games that, like, I'll be honest, I forget some of these even came out. Spider-Man Edge of Time, totally forgot about that one. Remember playing it. Wasn't exactly a good game.
No, definitely wasn't. So for Marvel to really get the emphasis back on their video game properties, they definitely had to come and deliver. And obviously the Avengers are the dominant franchise right now for Marvel.
They're the hot button.
They're the hot button right now. So why not ride the hot hand?
Yeah.
And it made sense, and especially Square Enix. The hype had been there.
Square Enix is good, just they can't ever deliver a game on time.
Yeah, that was going to be the big question about this. So the fact that we actually...
Kingdom Hearts 3 for 10 years.
Pat still holds a grudge.
Final Fantasy Versus 13. Oh, I'm sorry. Final Fantasy 15 for about 15 years.
Yeah. So
YouTube that one.
Yeah,
that's not a joke, folks. Final Fantasy 15 was supposed to come out in 2006 as Final Fantasy Versus 13, but got delayed for 10-15 years, and they eventually, why don't we just call this Final Fantasy 15? Because in the intervening years, Final Fantasy 13, 14 had come out, and 13-2 or some nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely that's a rabbit hole that I don't even think we got time to go down.
Nope.
But to see now, getting back to the Avengers game, to see the hype is there, and Square Enix has delivered so far. Like I said,
star-studded voice acting cast.
Oh, break it down for us.
Ooh. So, playing Taskmaster, you have a gentleman by the name of Walter Gray IV. Not been any, he's been in some big games. He was in Vader Immortal, but it's listed as miscellaneous crew. He was listed as voice talent for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. He was in The Last of Us Part 2. Was in Death Stranding, Days Gone, the Spider-Man PS4 game. So he's been in some stuff, but this is kind of, at least to me, his first major role. Playing Kamala Khan, you have a woman by the name of Sandra Sad, who you might not know the name, but if you hear the voice, you might know her. She's been in a bunch of big video games. She was in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Elder Scrolls Blades, that's the iOS, that's the mobile game the Elder Scrolls have. Okay. She was in Fallout 76, a whole bunch of others. She's in Smite. And then playing one Iron Man, you have Nolan North.
Okay.
Very well-known voice actor. Nathan Drake in the Uncharted video games. He was Deadpool in the Deadpool video game. Run down his his credits on IMDb. You'll know him from something, I promise you. Playing Bruce Banner, you have Troy Baker, very, very well-known voice actor. I'll just read off his off his IMDb list. He was Joel in The Last of Us.
Okay.
So he's the main character. He was Booker DeWitt in BioShock Infinite. So that's the main, the main guy from the cover. He was the Arkham Knight in Batman Arkham Knight.
Ooh.
And then he was also Nathan Drake's brother in Uncharted 4.
Wow.
So, a very well-known voice actor. Again, him and Nolan North. Run down the IMDb list. You will know him from something. Very well-known voice actor. Playing... what's the next one I've got here? Playing Black Widow is a woman by the name of Laura Bailey. Been in a couple things you might have heard of. She was Abby in The Last of Us Part 2.
Okay.
She was also Mary Jane Watson in the Spider-Man PS4 video game.
All right.
So that's very interesting. She's got a credit listed here for the upcoming Harry Potter video game. Ooh, hello. Interested in that one. No idea. There's rumors about that one, but I don't want to get into that right now.
Yeah.
Also listed here, you playing Thor Odinson is a gentleman by the name of Travis Willingham, and I had to look. This is why I looked up this whole list, because the voice sounded real damn familiar. He played Thor in the of Marvel Avengers Assemble animated series from back in 2013. Because I was watching a guy play, and I heard the person playing Thor, the Thor yell, and I go, "That sounds like the Avengers Assemble." Animated Thor, which is a great series. Highly recommended. It might be on Disney Plus.
I think it's on Disney Plus.
It's a great series. He did play Thor there. He was also Harvey Dent in the Telltale Batman video game series.
Okay.
So he was that one. And then playing, what's this next one here? I've got a gentleman by the name of, sorry, losing my place here. Page is jumping. Jeff Sheen, who is playing Captain America. He was in the Resident Evil 3 remake. He was also in the Walking Dead Telltale series. Javier, which I think is after I stopped playing, unfortunately, was also additional voices in Final Fantasy VII. He's been in, he was in Kingdom Hearts 3 as additional voices. Just Cause 4, Red Dead Redemption 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 4. So he's been on a whole bunch of stuff. This one, though, next one, though, really surprises me. Playing the Hulk, or at least the voice of the Hulk, is a gentleman by the name of Durin DePaul. If you're an Overwatch fan, he is Reinhardt. He was Sin in Shazam.
Okay.
He was also J. Jonah Jameson in the Spider-Man PS4 video game, which, holy shit, I thought they actually got J.K.
Simmons.
I thought they actually got J.K. Simmons for that game. He sounds just like him.
Wow.
Look up a video of J. Jonah Jameson Spider-Man PS4 video game. It's a dead ringer.
Interesting. Well, it's good to see that they went full out for this cast. I mean, I fully expected them to. I mean, obviously, the Avengers, like I said, is the biggest franchise at the box office right now is the MCU. So they definitely want to make sure they put their foot down and really plant some groundwork for a good run in the video game genre, because, I mean, obviously, video games are still a very relevant part of pop culture.
I'll say, Christ, look at all the accolades and awards the Spider-Man game got. The Game of the Year and won a whole boatload of awards. There's a market for it. People will play it.
Yeah, and
you just got to make a halfway decent game.
Well, you have to make the game, and that's what has to stand out, and especially with the properties that you have in your hand. That this is the Avengers.
And it's the Avengers. And tying games to movies just never work. It's too short a time frame for them to make it. It's always cookie cutter. It's always rushed. There's always issues. And yeah, some of them might be fun for the nostalgia of it, but at the end of the day, it's a terrible game.
Yeah, it's absolutely awful. So overall, though, man, I gotta say, I am impressed with what I have saw in this game.
Yeah.
And to bring the Marvel banner back to prominence. I mean, I'm not saying this is the greatest game ever. I don't want to come across it. But I think for Marvel, it's a win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Far.
Yeah.
From everything we've seen on the streaming, and I know that there are a couple things that they still need to work through.
Sure, that happens, though.
Well, it happens, but I'm hoping that it definitely gets improved as it goes on. I mean, one thing I remember our good friend Wondersoul was talking about is the Hulk was having a tough time opening loot boxes, which it's the Hulk.
Yeah.
So how does that happen?
Yeah. I mean, I know they play test these things, but let's face it, you can't play test everything. There are things that people are going to find that you just never would have thought or considered to do.
Right. So obviously they do have the vein of the MCU in it, and they definitely have a lot that it's enticed fans. And the story, like it was said, I don't want to go into too much spoiler for it, but everybody has been ranting and raving about how well it's done. And I think that has to be such a huge win.
Yeah.
That Marvel definitely wants to ride this as far as they can go. And who knows?
Make a Marvel Games universe.
I mean,
it can happen.
Why not? I mean, because I know that the Spider-Man from the PS4
game,
is going to be a DLC in this game.
For PlayStation only.
For PlayStation only for now.
Yeah, I would imagine at some point he'll go both ways, but hard to say just because Sony owns the studio that made that game.
Yeah, so unless... I don't know.
Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to think if there'd be another way to kind of get around that, but it's hard to say what they're going to allow to do.
Mm-hmm.
We do know that Hawkeye,
Yep.
Clint Barton is going to be a DLC.
Kate Bishop as well.
Kate Bishop is too,
Yep.
which makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
With
Kate, I think Kate's coming before Hawkeye is.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think Hawkeye's coming later in the year, but in the I don't know how the time frame is working or how soon they're releasing any of these. Whether it's going to be like a bunch at once or once a week or something like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, Kate Bishop is coming before Hawkeye.
Okay.
Which and I know Hawkeye is coming from what I was reading the other day or earlier today. I forget when. Hawkeye is coming with a free story update. Like it's going to be like an add-on story thing, but. Don't worry, you will not have to pay for said story. If you buy the game, you get the story update.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's the other awesome thing with this game. And you're seeing a few studios do with next gen consoles coming out the end of the year. At some point they still haven't announced a date or a price. If you buy this game for either PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, you will get an automatic upgrade, probably a download code or something, for your next gen console if you buy it.
Oh,
so if you buy it on PS4 and you end up getting a PS5, say for Christmas, don't worry, you won't have to buy a second copy of the Avengers game. You will get a copy for free.
I can get down with that.
Oh, absolutely, it's great. I know Destiny's doing the same thing. I believe Cyberpunk 2077 is doing the same thing. A lot of these big AAA games are coming out relatively close to when the next gen console is coming out. They're just get one for free.
It's a smart business move to do.
Absolutely.
And especially if you can entice fans that are kind of 50-50 if they want to get a new system. Mm-hmm. If you're going to say you can carry over a game such as Avengers, and the buzz about this has been huge, I think that's more of a selling point than you think.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, no, going to be a wild couple of months for video games.
Definitely is. So we are giving our thumbs up thus far from what we've seen. Mm-hmm. So definitely go check it out. I know that it's for the standard version, it's $60 in US.
Yep.
$80 for the deluxe version, which I know you get the obsidian skins for your cast, and you get nameplates too.
Interesting.
So yeah, the costumes look cool. So if you are into that, I recommend it. Definitely check out the streams of our good friends Wonder Soul, East Coast Avengers, Wednesday Pull List. They've all been playing it on Twitch. Maybe we're going to kind of do something with that too. We're kind of experiment a little bit over on twitch.tv/607 podcast. So definitely stay tuned for that. But Avengers, like I say, has got some stiff competition because returning to your video game shelf, the man, the myth, the legend, Tony Hawk.
Pro Skater 1 and 2.
Break it down, Pat.
Holy cow. So this one kind of came out of nowhere, especially because if I'm not mistaken, the licensing deal that he had with whoever the hell was the studio that made
Activision, I think?
I think it was Activision. When Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 came out, and if you're a fan of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater series, you don't talk about 5. 5 is god-awful.
5 doesn't exist.
That was it's kind of like a record deal, an artist's record deal, that you have to make X number of albums under this deal. That was the last game they had to make under that deal, so that the deal ran out. So this just kind of came out of nowhere that they're like, oh, hey, yeah, we're going to remaster Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, and we're going to add some stuff to it and add some characters and add this and add that. So a lot of people are excited.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be coming out. Activision's publishing it again. And to put this in perspective, when Tony Hawk, you imagine, well, you know what, actually, I'm going to go into that in a little bit. When Tony Hawk Pro Skater came out, there really wasn't a video game that really captured skateboarding like that.
No.
I mean, there was Skate or Die for the NES. I know I'm dating myself, but that's the closest you found to it. But this was, I want to say, the vibe of a Madden to football.
Yeah, I'd say initial release was on August 31st of 1999.
Yeah. And to see where it went, I mean, you could do a lot of tricks. There was some stuff that was over the top, but let's face it.
Yeah, it's a video game.
We're in a video game.
Yeah.
And they even had, at the time, hidden characters in there, which I remember Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 had Iron Man.
Right.
So, ironically, Tony Stark was in the game riding a skateboard. They had a deal worked out with Marvel. I think Wolverine was in there.
Plus, I think Activision was making the Marvel games at that point.
Yeah. So
that's easy to do.
So you could definitely do it. And they also had every pro skater, those world ranked, or friends of Tony Hawk.
Yep.
So the authenticity was there.
I just remember, because I didn't own it, or a PlayStation 1. My cousin did. And I remember going to my cousin's house a couple times and playing the game, especially that and 2. And just whatever game it was that had the airport terminal level or whatever it was.
I want to say 2.
I just remember playing that ad nauseum. I just loved the hell out of it.
Oh, it was completely crazy because I mean, just to see how it was, and like I say, how realistic it was to skateboarding
for the time. Yeah,
and you have to remember at that time period too. This is when the quote unquote extreme sports era was breaking out. I would say to where the X Games were blowing up, and you were also having just these. I don't want to say fringe sports because I never treat them as fringe. They're just at the time they just weren't mainstream.
Right, and you got the other thing. I couldn't remember what exactly year it was, but it if the Wikipedia I searched, the year the game came out, and probably the summer the game came out, was the year that Tony Hawk hit the 900 at the X Games.
Yeah, which was wild to think that he did a 900 rotation on a skateboard, which had never been done in the history of man. I mean, Tony Hawk, to try to put it in perspective, is arguably the GOAT of skateboarding.
Yeah, and extreme sports, and 2.
Yeah. So to break that in perspective, to see him get his own game and just see how far that went,
and especially how successful it was, because he did an interview, and I think you can find the clip on Facebook, where they ask somebody, whoever's interviewing him asks him how much money they made off of that game, and I forget the exact dollar amount he said. But he's like, it was enough money. He says the dollar amount. He's like, it was enough money that I could take a step back from skateboarding and look at other ventures.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild to think what he made off it. I mean, like I say, that time period in the 90s, the late 90s, that's when he had the first X Games. They were 95. And then when this game came out, it just carried the momentum. Because I mean, and for a lot of people now, I think they're kind of going, well, what's the big deal about it?
Yeah, and I remember a couple years when those games were coming out, especially 1 and 2, that a couple years prior it was Pokemon. It was Pokemon coming out, and that was the hot one, and everyone had their Game Boys at school and playing that and the cards. But once Pro Skater came out, it was everybody talking about, were you able to do this on this level? Were you able to do that? Did you know you could unlock this character?
Yeah, it's absolutely wild to think how far it went. And obviously, after you get to a certain point with video games, sometimes they kind of tail off a little bit.
Yeah.
So you have to say, Tony Hawk had the same instance happen. Like we said, we don't even talk about number 5. That just didn't happen. But what really stood out about this whole franchise is it really broke skateboarding into the mainstream. I would say more so than it already was.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, for being an alternative sport, that's the word I was looking for.
Okay.
This really captivated what the 90s were about with the X Games and skateboarding. And like I said, Tony Hawk was featured on ESPN for doing the 900s. And to see where this franchise was going as a video game, plus another point that I think is slept on a lot is the soundtrack.
Yes.
Of this. And this was one of the first franchises that really captured the sound of skateboarding. From the various different like pop punk and punk rock and hip hop. It just had so much of a great mix.
Yeah.
That I know now. That's one thing I'm seeing pop up going into this weekend is people are finding the Tony Hawk playlist. And they're tagging it up on Spotify and whether wherever you find your music. It just goes to show how much of a game can influence generations.
Yeah.
And you want to say, like, for the decades, this game, when it's coming out, there's going to be a whole new group of video game players that are going to play this for the first time and get hooked.
Oh, yeah.
And for a lot of us that used to play this is going to be a trip down memory lane and then some. Because to get this on a next gen, forget about it. How exciting is this, Pat?
Oh, it's absolutely phenomenal. Especially you think of there are people who played this game that now have kids of their own.
Yeah,
that you can have that. That those kids, those parents now had moments with their parents of playing games. Maybe it's Mario or Zelda or something like that. But now these parents can have that moment with their kid. Like, hey, Fortnite's fun and all, but let me show you something that I used to play. Let's have some fun with this.
Yeah. So it's going to be definitely something to take up the time this weekend, especially if you're indoors. This game will eat up time on you, but it's going to be the good eat up time.
Yeah.
Like I say, for everybody that's looking for something else to do instead of Fortnite and Minecraft.
Well, and especially
this gives you an option.
Especially the next couple of months, because I didn't realize it, but holy sugar cookies, there's a lot coming out the next couple of months.
Oh, break it down, Pat.
So obviously this weekend we mentioned Marvel Avengers and Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 are coming out. Also the same day, it's NBA 2K21. That is coming out this weekend. Coming out on September 18th is Crysis Remastered. That is, of course, a remastering of the original Crysis game, which, if you're not familiar with, the running joke is the graphics on it were so good that a lot of people's computers couldn't run it.
Wow.
Also, if history is any indicator, I would not pirate this game because the game studio is notorious for putting stuff in the game for those people who pirate the game. Google or YouTube search Crysis gameplay pirate or something like that. You'll find it. Also coming out on the 18th is WWE 2K Battlegrounds.
I'm still not sold on that one. I'm sorry.
On the 25th is Mafia Definitive Edition, which is, of course, I believe it's a remastering of the original Mafia game. Then coming out in October, on the 2nd, you have Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. Also on the October 2nd is Star Wars Squadrons.
Okay.
Then on October 9th, you have FIFA 21. October 16th, you have both Dirt 5 and NHL 21. And then on October 29th, you have Watch Dogs Legion. And then in November, you have, on the 10th, one day after my birthday, you have Destiny 2 Beyond Light, which is the next expansion for the Destiny 2 series. Just Dance 2021 is coming out on November 12th. November 13th is Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. On the 17th is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And then on November 19th is Cyberpunk 2077. So if you are a gamer, there is no shortage of great games to play the next 3 months.
But it all kicks off with these two big ones this week.
Yes.
I mean, how exciting is it if you're a video game fan right now?
It's very exciting just because, DC's had its fair share of good games, especially the Batman ones.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But Marvel really hasn't. It's been a lot of crap.
Mm-hmm.
I know people hold Spider-Man 2 to this golden pedestal that it's so great, and don't get me wrong, it was fun and the open world was unique for its time. I still have memories of the little boy going, "My balloon," every 5 fucking seconds. For me, the Marvel games like Ultimate Spider-Man for me was the benchmark.
Yeah,
that was compared to the stuff now, it's not a lot, but
it's dated
for its time. You could free roam New York, even into Queens, because it lets you go to his home in Queens, and you could fight all these gangs up and down New York, and you could race the Human Torch, and that's how you got faster swing speed. But that was the benchmark, But after that, it's kind of Spider-Man was very, very missed for a lot of years until the PS4 game a couple years ago. So I'm excited to see Marvel make a resurgence with the video games.
Yeah, me too. I mean, this is definitely an event, and how it's really taken over social media too. I not to say I'm shocked at it, but I'm shocked at how great it did. For the minute it's been dropping, it's been everywhere on Twitter, everywhere on Twitch, everywhere on YouTube, and it's just dominating right now. That you can't escape it. Not that you'd want to if you're a fan, but just how much it's really blown up and shown the proportion. And now you have Tony Hawk coming in right behind it, too. So you have back-to-back games that you're going to try playing. If you're a UFC fan, you're still playing the UFC game that just came out. What a time to be a video game fan. But it really kicks off this weekend with Square Enix's Marvel's Avengers and Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. What games are you picking up this weekend? And what's your thoughts on Marvel's Avengers if you played it? What's your thoughts on Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2? Are you excited to see that franchise return? Let's talk. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, everybody. I'm Steve.
And I'm Izzy.
And this is Everything I Learned from Movies. And tonight, like every night, we bring you questionable movies and pass the lessons that we've learned on to you, as well as we go over some great beer and funny third thing.
Yes, we're excellent beer reviewers, and as BJCP certified beer judges, we sort of know what we're talking about in regards to that. The movies?
So if you want to hear us talk about odd movies and is he talking about BJing?
Woo!
Listen to us at eilfm.podbean.com. That's everything I learned from movies.podbean.com.
Hey honey, are you ready to pop that top? Woo! My top!
Hi, this is Tyler from Second Suitor, and you're listening to the ODPH podcast. I want you to get it.
I want you to understand I'm doing the best I can, but not as good as I wanna be. I just wanna get it, I just wanna comprehend that I have to make amends with the monster.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and to start off one-shots, unfortunately, we got to start off on some sad notes. Unfortunately, had a few deaths over the weekend in the entertainment industry, so Pad.
Starting off, first one we're going to mention, you may not know the name, but once I tell you what he was in, you will understand it. Norm Spencer passed away. He was best known of being the voice actor of Scott Summers' Cyclops in the X-Men animated series from Fox during the 90s. Played him. For me, and especially, it's bittersweet now rewatching that series. He for me is Scott Summers. As good as the actor was in the original run of the movies, and even a little less so in the kind of reboot per se. He is. Norm Spencer for me is Cyclops.
Yeah, I agree with you fully. I mean, the animated series.
Yeah, such a great series.
Yeah, absolutely. And like every time I see Cyclops, I hear his voice. No matter even if I'm reading the comics.
Yeah,
like that's how you know when you're a voice actor.
Yeah.
If you can translate over to another medium. And like I say, every time I'd read X-Men comics.
Yeah.
That's the voice I hear him in.
I mean, that's the thing for me when I reread Lord of the Rings every couple of years. Like I'm reading Gandalf's lines, I'm hearing Ian McKellen's voice.
Yeah, so obviously rest in peace, and our condolences out to his family, friends, and fans.
Yep, and then the other one we want to mention is, of course, Chadwick Boseman, who unfortunately passed away last week at the age of 43 in Los Angeles, shockingly from colon cancer.
Yes, diagnosed in 2016 with stage 3 colon cancer and battled to, until his passing.
Down to the bitter end, and you think about it, nobody knew outside of his immediate family, and his agent, but diagnosed in 2016. So he filmed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 movies in that time, all battling, cancer, and, best well known, obviously, from playing, T'Challa, Black Panther from the Avengers and the Marvel films. Also well known, though, for being James Brown in the biopic of Get On Up. Was also played Jackie Robinson in the biopic 42. Just a great number of films he was in. Great actor, great human being. Always, looking out and visiting kids and taking time to see the fans.
Yeah, I think that's one thing, that just seeing what he was going through, and especially he was still making time to go see his fans in the hospitals. I mean, there's been countless pictures of it.
Yeah.
I mean, this news, it was just shocking to hear about it, and just to see that he had been battling this long and still working and still going forward. I mean, it just
gut wrenching.
It hits you right in the gut, and you just to just think about gone way too soon.
Absolutely.
And I mean, 43 years old, and look in the legacy he's left. I mean, and just iconic roles that he's played, like Pat touched upon. I mean, Jackie Robinson, James Brown, and even for the Marvel universe. I mean, he is King T'Challa. There's no question about that.
He was also Thurgood Marshall in the movie Marshall.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's just a huge loss, and you can definitely feel it when you talk to other fans, and just the impact he's left in just a short amount of time too. If you want to really break it down that way, it's just, I mean, like I said, it's heart wrenching. It's just to see what he was going through, and like I say, for us as fans, we had no idea.
No,
and just to see him keep going and working through this.
Yeah,
I mean,
just nuts.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he is more of a superhero than we ever think, and obviously just a tragic loss. And I know that this was mentioned right after his passing, that there was a few media outlets were already speculating about Black Panther 2. Look,
time and place.
Not the time and place to be talking about that in any which way, shape, or form.
There was one site in particular, I won't mention names.
Yeah.
I won't mention names. If you've been on the internet long enough, you've heard of them. But they ran an article on what Marvel should do for Black Panther less than 12 hours after it was announced he was dead.
Yeah.
The news was reported by his family on Chadwick's Twitter page, and not even 4 hours later. It was maybe not even 3. And there was an article up about what Marvel should do since he passed.
Yeah, it's just time and place. It definitely wasn't. It was very insensitive. I'm not giving him time of day to even mention him. And we are not going to talk about anything that's going on involving Black Panther 2 for a while. I think...
I'd say at least until they announce something, we're not going to say anything.
Yeah, we're not going to say anything because I know some people were mentioning about that article to us too, and like I said, we're not mentioning anything until Marvel does, and we just want to honor Chadwick Boseman's memory. I mean, just the legacy he's left behind on film, and just as a human being.
I'll say if you haven't, like, obviously, I know, I'm sure a bunch of, if not all of our listeners have seen the Marvel movies. I highly recommend 42.
Yeah.
42, not from just a baseball perspective, but from a human being perspective, just is a great story, and it's a great movie. A lot of people might know the story of Jackie Robinson. They might, know the name, but it's a very eye-opening film that even me, being a huge baseball fan, if you listen to our sports show, there was stuff in there that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And it's just a stellar performance from him.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, like I said...
And the fact that he passed away on the same day that Major League Baseball was honoring Jackie Robinson.
Yeah.
Just absolutely heart-wrenching.
It's just absolutely heart-wrenching. And like I say, our deepest condolences out to his family, friends, and millions of fans around the world.
Yeah.
Just absolutely heartbreaking.
Yep.
So, Pad, what else do we have for one-shots to kind of switch gears here?
Yeah, switching gears. It was announced today from the folks at Lucasfilm that we have a release date for Season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Okay.
It was announced that it will be returning on Disney Plus on October 30th, 2020. This did come with some new title art. It's not the same one you are familiar with. It is The Mandalorian while holding the arm of Baby Yoda. They said, quote, "This is the day. New episodes start streaming on October 30th on Disney Plus." So very excited. I know there's been a lot of anticipation and kind of wondering that because Kathleen Kennedy, I think we mentioned it in a previous episode. If not, Kathleen Kennedy, the president head of Lucasfilm, did do an interview where she said that Season 2 of The Mandalorian did finish filming before the pandemic happened and shut everything down. They finished like 5 days before everything got shut down. So there was going to be no delay in it. So we finally have a release date of when it's coming out. I've heard and I've heard some rumors that we should be seeing a trailer within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
So I've heard some stuff, so be on the lookout for that. I'm very excited for Season 2 of Mandalorian. It's a great show. I've already got a little reminder set up in my phone when to start my rewatch, so I got it timed perfectly that I do the last episode of Season 1 the day before Season 2 comes out.
Cannot wait to see Mandalorian Season 2.
Absolutely. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, Boba Fett all day, baby.
Yep. Moving on to some movie news, we got a new poster for the final Daniel Craig James Bond film, No Time to Die. We also got an announcement that there will be a new trailer coming out tomorrow as we record. So by the time you hear this, the new trailer might be out. Of course, this will be, I believe it's the 25th or 26th film in the Bond franchise. It will be Daniel Craig's final film. I saw the little teaser they put out on Twitter, full of action shots. It looked like there was a Jeep or off-road type vehicle, jumping through the air while chasing a motorcycle, so it looks absolutely awesome. I cannot wait for this movie to come out.
Yeah, I know you're super excited about it. I will once we start getting back to theaters again. Like for where we are in New York, theaters are still closed.
Yep.
I miss New Mutants.
You're not, according to the Rotten Tomatoes score, you're not missing much.
No, you know what though? I've read from other sites I go through that have actually given it positive grades.
Because I haven't seen what it is, but I know at one point when it came out, New Mutants had a lower Rotten Tomatoes score than Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, but
I'm pulling it up what it is right now.
But just my point is though with movies, until I can get back to a theater, like I'm excited to see that they're back in production and the sense of normalcy will start coming back.
Yeah.
But until like I'm actually sitting there ready to watch something,
I'm still not going to see it.
Yeah, well, I know you're not going to see New Mutants. New Mutants probably going to be out of the theaters by next week. So
it's entirely possible. So I pulled it up. As we record, New Mutants has a critics score of 32%. That's with a total review count of 57. And with 1,296 verified ratings, it has an audience score of 53%. It's eked back up. And then Dark Phoenix has a tomato meter of 22% and an audience score of 64%.
Dark Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, though.
Yes.
Until we get back to the movie theaters, like I'm excited to hear about it. I'm just itching to get back there. And I mean, as long as everything's safety and health precautions, is a go.
Yeah.
I'm down to go see it. And like I said, with Bond, I'll be more excited when I'm at the theater for it.
Yeah. Also, in some more movie news, I didn't know this was coming, but apparently there's a director's cut of Rocky 4 in the works coming from Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, please break this down for me.
So, over the weekend, Sylvester Stallone announced that Paulie's Robot, if you're familiar with Rocky 4, is going to be cut from his director's cut of Rocky 4. Of course, Rocky 4 came out in 1985, and Stallone is celebrating its 35th anniversary this November with a director's cut of the movie. Very well-liked movie, very popular, arguably ended the Cold War.
Yes, it did.
But it's getting its release. He said, quote, Stallone said, quote, for the 35th anniversary, Rocky 4 is getting a new director's cut by me. He said in an Instagram post, so far it looks great, soulful. Thank you, MGM, for this opportunity to entertain. So, but people dug into the comments and were asking about the robot. He said, quote, the robot is going to the junkyard forever.
That's so random.
That's what I said. Like, I get it's a wacky part of the movie, and it doesn't make a lot of sense.
It's 80s, though.
It's the 80s. Like, it's just the most random thing to, like, come out that, oh, hey, Paulie's Robot is getting cut for Rocky 4. Okay.
So, to put it in perspective, the story of Rocky Balboa is an American classic. The first Rocky movie, Oscar winning?
Possibly.
At least Oscar nominated. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Speaking of Rocky 1, I read a post on Reddit the other day that when he's training and running through Philadelphia and you see people's shock reaction, that's genuine. They didn't have enough money to afford closing off those streets in Philly. So those are real people. Those aren't actors. Those aren't extras. Those are real people watching Sylvester Stallone run through the streets of Philadelphia with a van and a camera chasing him.
Yeah, see, it's absolutely just wild to think that, this movie, which did win for Best Oscar in 1977.
Okay.
Which I just had to look up because I'm just seeing Rocky wins Best Picture. So, like I said, to see how this story unfolded, and you had the, ultimate loser come up and get his shot, and, he didn't win the belt.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm spoiling, but hey, it's been
it's out long enough.
Yeah, enough said. To see where it went, and then it had the typical Hollywood sequel, and then 3 definitely was a cool story, and then 4 was the iconic ending. Like, it should never have continued after that, in my opinion. To take out the robot, which it's
not even upsetting, it's just weird.
Yeah, it's just weird. Like, and plus the fact he has a director's cut.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, unless he has more of a workout montage that there's no easy way out.
Yeah.
Or there's more of a speech at the end of the film.
Yeah.
Which Pat touched upon. It did end the Cold War.
Yep.
Like, what else could he add?
It's kind of like Peter Jackson a couple of years ago said, oh, there's a longer cut of Lord of the Rings if you want. And I'm like, what the hell would you add? Return of the King Extended is already like 4.5 hours. Like, what more is there to add?
Yeah, like...
It's like with this, like how much, stuff got left on the cutting room floor that you suddenly like and want to put back in the movie.
Yeah, like, it's just so... Like,
it's weird.
Yeah, I have no words for it. It's just so weird. But I'll be excited to go see it. I will definitely go to the theater to see Rocky 4 again. Yeah. And the director's like, I was gonna say, was it gonna be like the Snyder cut? I just what else could?
You're gonna have fans divided. You're gonna have fans who prefer the robot in the movie and those who don't.
Oh my God, we need to see this happen.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I need this.
Yeah.
Debate it. ODPH Society, let's go.
Yeah. Also in some movie news, of course, Mulan is coming out September 4th, if you've seen the ads on TV, to Disney Plus with the Premier Access subscription, as we mentioned a couple weeks ago. But eagle-eyed fans have noticed today that Disney did add a page to Disney Plus for it and figured out when it's coming out to Disney Plus proper, where you don't need to pay $30 to see it.
Oh.
It does say, I'm looking at the page on my phone right now for Disney Plus, says Disney's Mulan Premier Access, available September 4th, 2020 for $29.99. And then it reads, watch before it's released to all Disney Plus subscribers on December 4th, 2020. Watch as many times as you like with Premier Access and your Disney Plus subscription. So there you go. If you are one of those fans who kind of on the fence didn't want to necessarily pay $30 to watch a movie on Disney Plus, you now have a date of when you have to wait till to watch it on Disney Plus proper, and that is December 4th.
See, I guess I'm twofold about this. If I'm going to pay $30 to go to the movie theater, I don't have an issue doing that if I'm really excited to see the movie. Because
Sure.
you think of how much tickets are,
Yep.
popcorn,
Gas.
you know, you want to do all the math, you can add up all the math.
Oh yeah, and it doesn't even take a family of 5. Like just me going with my girlfriend can equal $30+.
Yeah, so like I say, if you go with a date and such, yeah, I mean, it's absolutely crazy to see this. And, you know, for a lot of the feedback, because I know online people were arguing about, like, well, I would never pay $30 to see it. How much do you spend when you go to a regular movie?
Yeah, especially in a big city.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry. This, if you're that big of a fan of it, you're going to do it. Because I will tell you this, if Black Widow comes out, I'm paying $30.
Oh, I am too. Now Mulan, I'm interested to see it.
Yeah,
just because I saw the animated movie when it came out in theaters, you know. But I'm not necessarily excited or anticipatory enough to pay $30.
Yeah,
you know, I'll wait till December 4th to see it. You know, I'm not, like I said, I'm interested because I love the animated movie because I saw it when it came out. I'm interested to see what they do with this one, but I'm not interested enough to pay $30 for it.
Yeah,
like that's just me. That's just me. But if I'm a parent at home with, you know, 3 kids, and you know, like in the state of New York, like you mentioned, theaters aren't open. I got kids who are chomping at my ankles to watch a movie, and I'm tired of hearing Moana or Frozen for the umpteenth time. I'll shell out $30 for something new.
If you got the money and you want to do it, do you? Like I'm not hating on anybody that's doing it, because it was just funny reading online, like people were chirping about it. And I'm like, you realize how much you pay for a ticket to go to a movie theater?
Yeah.
So if you want to go do it, I'm doing it for Black Widow, so hopefully it doesn't come that far. But hey, I have no issue if it does.
Yep. Switching over to some video game news, the PlayStation Store, if you're a PS4 fan, has launched a PS4 Essential Picks sale. Definitely a lot of good games you should check out with this. Some of the games that have a certain percentage off, I won't read through all of them, are The Last of Us Part 2, Death Stranding, Spider-Man Game of the Year Edition. This one I'm going to give you the price of because it is, for the price, it is a goddamn steal. So it's the Game of the Year Edition, so it's the base game plus all of the 3 DLC that came out with it. For 50% off of $39.99, you can get it for $19.99.
Damn.
So for $20, you can get the base game, all 3 DLCs. Highly worth that price. Some of the other ones that you can get 25% off the game Dreams. If you have not heard of this game and you don't own a PS4, YouTube it. Dreams PS4. It is some of the most bonkers creative content I have ever seen come from a video game. It is just, you can basically create anything you want. I know at one point somebody created a Mario level until Nintendo got pissy and had them take it down. There was one I saw, if you go to IGN's Facebook page, they shared a video the other day. Somebody made a park, you know, like you're out in the city or in your local town with benches and trees and grass and the whole nine, and it was blowing, and it's the most realistic thing I've ever seen. So if you own a PS4, definitely check that game out. And if you haven't, don't check out the gameplay because it's bonkers. Some of the other ones, God of War you can get 25% off. Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition, 35% off. So that's the base game plus the DLC, which you can easily get 50, 60 plus hours out of this game. And that's if you just blow through the story, you don't do everything. That one you can get for $12.99. Also should mention Ratchet & Clank. Tom, Off the Cuff Gaming.
Yeah.
You can get for 50% off, so you can get it for $10, but a whole bunch more. You can check out the PlayStation Store, so definitely some good deals to check out over there.
Yeah, it definitely sounds it.
Said I'd mention this one from my girlfriend Liz Bailey, who is a huge Pokemon fan. We might have a leak at the possible next Pokemon game. So there have been some leaks that are hinting that we might be seeing a remake of the Diamond and Pearl games. So much kind of like they redid the first 2 games with, what was it, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, I think, which originally came out like the initial launch of the Nintendo Switch. It looks like they're going to be doing something similar for the Diamond and Pearl in the next few years. You know, the leaks are claiming that while Pokemon says, the article I'm reading says, however, a new leak claims that while Pokemon fans on the right lines, the next major entry in the story franchise may or may not be a remake of Diamond and Pearl. So who knows? We'll see.
Definitely sounds interesting.
Yeah. So also with the video games, AT&T is no longer looking to sell Warner Brothers Interactive Gaming Division. So this is, of course, we've been mentioning a couple of times. There were reports at least a month or 2 ago that said AT&T was looking to sell Warner Brothers Gaming Studio, which includes studios like Rocksteady, NetherRealm, and WB Montreal. it has now removed its gaming division from its list of non-core assets up for sale. So Bloomberg reported AT&T has decided, quote, it was too valuable to unload during its effort to pay down debt and streamline, according to people familiar with the situation. Of course, after AT&T merged with Warner Media and that whole thing, they got a lot of debt. And they're looking to pay down some of it. And there were reports that they were looking to sell the gaming division, which would have netted them a hefty amount of money. But they've now decided against that. So good for them. That's a lot of assets to offload, and I think you make a mistake doing it.
Yeah, I agree too. I think that is definitely, risky to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're doing the smart play here.
Yeah. Switching to some streaming news. It has been HBO Max has announced that there is going to be a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion special.
Really?
Yep. So this article from IGN reads, HBO Max will reunite Will Smith and the cast of the classic sitcom, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, for a special in honor of the show's 30th anniversary. Smith's Westbrook Media Company is producing the sequel. Joining Smith will be cast members Tatiana Ali, Carrie Parsons, Joseph Marcel, Daphne Maxwell-Reid, and Alfonso Ribeiro, as well as the series' recurring guest members and Smith's hip-hop partner DJ Jazzy Jeff.
Yes.
HBO Max says the special will also include special guest appearances, music, and dancing. Special will be recorded on September 10th, and the 30th anniversary of when Fresh Prince debuted will be recorded on September 10th, which is the 30th anniversary of when the first episode debuted. So definitely something to check out if you are a fan of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I know I love the show. Should know all of the episodes are available on HBO Max.
HBO Max is big about doing those reunion shows.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
still got the Friends one coming.
Yeah, the Friends one is supposed to be like the big mammoth one, but this one's got more of my attention.
Yeah, mine too.
So for my one shot, I got to talk a little comics.
Okay.
And this came across my wire. Pat, I can't remember if you pointed this out to me or not.
I think I did.
I think you did. So if you're reading DC Comics lately, they've restarted the Young Justice franchise. We talked about this on a previous episode. Brian Michael Bendis was doing his own little imprint. Yep. I know they had the book Naomi was on there, and Young Justice was throwing it back. And if you're not too familiar with it, it's kind of like the other side of the coin from Teen Titans, in my opinion. It centers around, though, Superboy, Connor Kent, Tim Drake, and Bart Allen as Impulse or Kid Flash, depending on what you want to find him as. So recently, they've been kind of doing a little storyline, and it was announced that Tim Drake was having a new costume and name, and he was going as Drake. Because for the long-time Robin, number 3 in the series, when Damian Wayne came on board, he gave up the mantle and was going through like the Red Robin phase, and then he got out of the superhero game per se, and it was kind of a little go back and forth through the comics. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. While Damian Wayne took over the role as Robin and really rose to surprising popularity. Because I think when he first came out in the comics, nobody really liked him, and then he just won everybody over.
Right.
Especially when they brought him back from the dead. Comics, folks, it is what it is. But in the most recent issue of Young Justice, number 18, Tim Drake has now announced that he is going back to being Robin. So he has the complete 90s costume, which, he's back with Spoiler, if you know the history of those two characters. And also, in Teen Titans Annual number 2, is announced that Damian Wayne is giving up the mantle of being Robin, like kind of at the same time. So, Pat, let me ask you this. What do you make of this?
It's surprising, to say the least. I would imagine that in terms of Damian leaving the mantle behind, they must have something big planned for him. They must have, I know I was discussing with you the other day, there, as we record, is no current Ra's al Ghul or head of that organization, per se. Maybe he's going to, he's been with his dad for so long, maybe he's going to go over to that side and see what his mom's side is doing. You don't just leave the Bat family, without something big happening.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't know where he's going with the character, or they're going to give him a new code name, because I'll be honest, Damian Wayne won me over as Robin. And it's weird, but he did. Because I would never have said this when the character first came out, because he was just annoying as all hell. And then when they killed him off, ironically, by his mom and the whole Batman International story, or Incorporated, God, I honestly forgot that story, but I just remember Grant Morrison got weird, stuff happened, Damian Wayne got killed, long story short, it was one of those, moments in time.
Sure.
Batman Incorporated, that was a book. So, needless to say, since he's came back to take the mantle of the Bat, or the Robin, it's worked out. In the flip side, Tim Drake did get pushed to the wayside. I know there was the whole Red Robin thing, and that was just weird to me. But now to see him back, I'm really puzzled at what they're going to do with Damian Wayne.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense for him to be Robin on every single level. Tim Drake is a great Robin. I'm going to say he's probably my number 2A Robin, because I split him and Damian Wayne right now.
Sure.
Number 1 is always Dick Grayson.
Oh, of course.
And then Jason Todd is the last one. But,
yeah.
But Jason Todd does an amazing job as Red Hood. And
this is true.
It's just weird how it's won me over. So to see this happen, I'm really curious of what they're going to do with Damian Wayne. Because I can't see the character being pushed to the side.
No, God, no.
And I know that what's going on right now with the Joker war, I got to imagine Batman's going to need a Robin for it.
Probably.
So Tim Drake coming back to the fold, that will be an interesting play, especially if you know the history between Tim Drake and the Joker.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see what happens here. But this really caught me off guard that, okay, Tim Drake is going to take the mantle back, which I'm okay, like I said, I'm okay with, but I'm also puzzled because you've really hyped Damian Wayne up to be the heir to the throne. Usually Robins take over as Batman. So where does he go from here, especially being a 13-year-old little assassin with a short fuse?
Yep.
We're going to find out eventually.
At some point.
Yeah, some point, but I'm really puzzled by this move. So definitely have to hit me up on hashtag ODPH and let me know what you think of the move. Are you a fan of Tim Drake taking back the role after all this time? I was actually all right with him being Drake, but that's just me. But seeing him back in the costume, though, it did make a lot of sense since, like I said, Young Justice is just kind of a weird book to me. Because, like I say, it's the other side of the coin to me from Teen Titans.
Sure.
So have to kind of wait to see what goes from there. So looking at the comic shops, though, Batman 98, talking about Batman, the Joker War continues. And looking at the cover right now,
oh boy,
Harley Quinn is fighting Punchline.
Yep.
What else do you need? Tynion's run there has been, or Tynion's run has been absolutely bonkers.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm really waiting to see kind of how this keeps playing out. Like we said, Young Justice, that's out too. So if you want to check out the whole story between, Robin taking the mantle back, you can definitely go check that out. Marvel side was kind of a little quiet this week, I got to admit.
Yeah.
Really nothing super crazy going on book-wise. I know that Wolverine 5 was out, and I mean, that's been a really good book since it's been out. Empire 6 is out, so if you've been following that whole storyline, that's got something for you too. So definitely head on over to your local comic book shops. Go give them some support. Also check out some great independent comic podcasts, such as the one and only Cheers to Comics. Brian's got that pull list for you. He'll hook you up with whatever info you need before you head to the shops. So that all being said, the music you heard on this episode is that of Shout at the Robots. Now, they have got a lot of things lined up, especially they're going to be part of DMG-a-thon happening October 3rd at Dragon Master Games, which we will be airing on twitch.tv/607podcast when that comes down. There's going to be a live ODPH pad. Are you ready for that?
Ooh.
So we got to kind of figure out what we're going to do for it, but we're going to be streaming on there along with 3 Fat Nerds, Horror Zone 607. I heard Crazy Curtis Gaming is going to be on there too.
Oh, all right.
There is rumored that we're going to kick off the day with Off the Cuff Gaming, and then at night we're going to close with Shout playing live and Floodlands playing live. So for more information on that, you got to keep following everybody at the 607 Podcast family. But it all starts at ochodoroparlayhour.com in the music section, where you can check out everything going on with Shout. You can check out everything going on with Floodlands, Second Suitor, Fair City Fire, and all the great music you hear on the ODPH. While you're there, stop over to the ODPH directory, where you can check out friends of the show, such as Tom from Off the Cuff Gaming, who is still not accepting his apology. And in fact, he was talking some trash concerning Locks and Leaps.
Yep.
This is going to get ugly before it gets better, folks. I'm already warning you right now. Also, there, you can check out everything going on with Excite Wrestling, which Johnny Moose is actually going to be on twitch.tv/607podcast this Thursday night as we are recording 8 p.m. Definitely going to be an interesting episode of 3FNW. So he's got a lot to say, and usually when he swings by, he drops some news that he probably is like, oh, I shouldn't have said that on air. So what is he going to have in store for us? You're going to have to tune in and find out. Also on the directory, you can find organizational links supporting Black Lives Matter and voter registration and all the amazing Podchaser lists of the groups that we are a part of. So shout out to Legion of Independent Podcasts. Shout out to Alternate Reality Radio. Shout out to Pod Nation. Shout out to the aPODalypse. And shout out to hashtag 607 Podcasts. What up, Mike C, Rich Ron, and hashtag Big Natty Cool still on Twitter, Pad.
Oh, boy.
Hasn't been kicked off yet because he's bringing the heat, but if you want to find out what he does behind a paywall, head on over to patreon.com/8122productions. All of that and so much more at ochoduroparlayhour.com. That's all I got for this week. So for the one and only Padawan
98 days, still no HBO Max app on Roku or Amazon Fire. 49 days, still no Peacock app on Roku or Amazon Fire.
Nobody brings us stats like Pad. Nobody. I'm your host, Ken. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. See you next time.